Hi there, this is Karen Gray, and I am doing a review on the app called Pear Deck. Um, Pear Deck is an Chrome extension that you can use. Originally, it was with video, and now they've included an option to use with Google Slides that you can have your students check in as you are presenting something. So it gives a whole nother level of interaction for your students, which is pretty cool. So I signed into Pear Deck. Like your other Google extensions, you would gain access to Pear Deck through your school Google account, or if you had a Gmail account, you could use that too. And then once you get onto Pear Deck, I have downloaded or made a copy of one of the Pear Deck Google Slides for time purposes presentations. So I'm just going to use one of the ready-made Pear Deck slideshows just to give you guys kind of an overview of how it works. So once you're signed on and you have to give it all the permissions to look into your Google Drive, you're going to get to a point where you open a slideshow. So you open your slideshow, and what happens is then it says join pd.com, and it gives you a join class code, a lot like Google. Right now I have no students connected, so you can see down here I have no students connected because I don't have a class for the purpose of this tutorial. But obviously, if your students all joined in on their computers, and so they put in this link or their iPads, anything, they could do that. You could give students a link, or you can open the teacher dashboard, and that kind of just gives you the options of where students are at. So I'm going to click X. So this is a cool little, since it is downloaded this slideshow from Pear Deck, it gives you kind of an idea of things you could do. So I decided to keep it in here just for the purposes of, if you're just learning Pear Deck, then obviously it's giving you some ideas of what Pear Deck is doing. So this is using the Pear Deck for Google Slides. Add-on, make your lesson interactive with the power of Pear Deck. And it says open a Pear Deck add-on through the add-on menu, which is how, obviously, once you open Google Slides, you go to your add-on menu and you open Pear Deck. Add interactive slides from our library, or create your own custom questions, or click the Present with Pear Deck button to start your interactive lesson. So it's just giving you the steps there. Oops, sorry. Today we will be reviewing pollinations of plants. Think about some lessons you've learned and be ready to share. So I have my little Screencastify stuff in the way here. Let's see if I can get rid of it. So this is a notes slide. So that just means you're going to be presenting to them, and then they can, do notes on what they are seeing, draw or type 2 things you have learned about pollination. So the students can draw anywhere on the slide of what they learned. And then here's draw a diagram. And so obviously if you've taught parts of a flower, they're going to write the parts of the flower there. It says it's a draw slide, but obviously if you would want them to write, that's what you would have them do. And I'm just going to go through these. This one, they have to write a response. So basically, they're showing you all the options of the type of questions: drawing, writing a response, choosing an option. Okay, on this one. And this one would be what would be a title to best complete this graphic organizer. And then draw a star to see how you're feeling about pollination. Once you go through them, you can show responses. Obviously, I don't have any responses, but it will list them. Or the overlaid layout is great for the one with like the smiley faces, because you could see how many people put smiley faces or sad faces, and you kind of get the idea of the response of how many students actually chose one or the other, to kind of get a grasp of how they did on those assignments. oops, I just locked the responses so then more kids can't you could put new questions in, so you could re-ask the same question, new interactive questions. So I'm going to say, do we want to do a disagree or agree? Draw on a grid, yes or no, long text, short text, true or false, draw on a blank, thumbs up, A, B, C, D, or numeric answer. So I'm just going to do drag your dot between the thumbs up and the thumbs down. So there, you do that on the Pear Deck. So I could make this full screen to take up the whole screen. Whoops, sorry about that. Turn on student paced. The student paced rather is that the students can go through the slideshow on their own. So pace it themselves. Open dashboard is it just opens your Pear Deck dashboard to all the responses to kind of go through them. And so obviously I have 0 students. If you click on the slide, it's going to, your teacher dashboard is going to tell you all of your responses in that area. Again, I don't have student responses, so I don't have that. But, you know, it's useful because you can kind of see, engage in the big picture how your students are doing. They do present the student results anonymously. So your students aren't going to be like, oh, well, Johnny got that answer wrong. You know, there's not that, that in there that you can see. Whereas like if you were to do Google Forms, for example, it shows you who submitted what responses. Not that you could use like Pear Deck, but it could be utilized that in a way to display responses. So that's a little bit about Pear Deck. I think Pear Deck has some great potential to do some great things if you can find the time to actually integrate this tool into your presentations. When you do whole class, I do see some potential in it when I'm doing some of my G Suite instruction. But I really did enjoy Pear Deck. I know I saw it a while back by utilizing video because I do use a lot of videos and tutorials in my classes, and sometimes I don't have the time to make them myself. So I'll use someone else's, even though I might present it a little differently. And Pear Deck using video would really give me that gauge whether the kids are getting what this person's saying or not. And even in my own, but my own videos, obviously my tutorials are going to be used with my assignments. So it's a lot more straight and to the point rather than the kids getting the points through someone else's tutorial and then applying them. With me, it would just be the assignment. So I do think Pear Deck has a lot of great uses. If you can think about your content and how you want to present it to include those. So I'm going to sign off now on my Pear Deck and on my fun little, I used Screencastify, which is another Chrome extension, which is pretty cool. And that is Pear Deck.